So we're going to talk now about the determinants of demand. And when we say determinants, you can see kind of that root word in there is determinants. We're just going to say, okay, what are those things that determine what happens to our demand curve? What is going to cause our demand curve to shift either to the left or to the right? Right? We said a change in demand is whenever the amount that people want at every single price changes. And so what are going to be the things that cause that? The nice thing is we have a really easy acronym to help us remember those things. So first of all, we want to understand what causes an increase in demand or causes our entire demand curve to shift to the right. Now, I want you guys to notice an increase in demand is a shift to the right because we're thinking along our quantity number line there at the bottom. And moving to the right along that number line is an increase, to the left is a decrease. So an increase in demand is a shift of our entire curve to the right. So what are some things that could cause the amount that people want to buy at every single price to increase? The prices are not changing, but the amount that people want to buy is going up. Well, the first one is the number of buyers. So if there's an increase in the number of buyers, think about it. Like if overnight 50,000 people move to Carmel, well, then obviously more people are going to want to buy more stuff at every single price. You know, whatever it is, the price doesn't have to change. People now want to buy more of it though, because there's more people. So an increase in the number of buyers. The next one is a change in consumers' income. So if people start making more money, typically what we see is people want to buy more stuff. This is actually true for something we call a normal good. So a normal good just means as our income goes up, we buy more of it. And most things are normal goods. If my income goes up, I'm probably going to buy more steak dinners. Or if my income goes up, I'm going to buy more pairs of shoes, right? So as we make more money, the price of the thing doesn't have to change. We just now want more of it. Now, there are these other goods that are known as inferior goods. And what inferior goods are is they're goods where we would say as our income decreases, we buy more of that product. Those are typically things that are generic or off brands or just cheaper versions of that good. So for example, a lot of times people refer to something like Spam as an inferior good. Spam is like a canned meat, right? So maybe as your income goes down, instead of buying those fancy steak dinners, you start buying Spam. And so as your income decreases, you're going to buy more of that thing. So again, inferior goods are, like we said, they're kind of the off-brand, cheaper versions, things that we would buy more of whenever our income decreases. C stands for a decrease in the price of a compliment. Now, if you guys notice, this is compliment with an E. So it's not like a compliment like you say something nice to somebody. This is compliment like we talked about complementary angles in math. If you know, complementary angles are two angles that go together. And a compliment is whenever we buy things that go together. So think about it this way. Chips and salsa, that's a great example of things that are complementary. You typically buy those things together. So what is something that might cause an increase in the demand for salsa? People now want to buy more salsa. Well, an example could be if maybe the price of chips goes down. Because if chips go down in price, we know according to the law of demand, people want to buy more chips, but they got to have something to dip their chips in. So they're going to want to buy more salsa. Now, if you notice, nothing has happened to salsa. The price of salsa did not change, but the price of its complement, chips, did change. When chips went down in price, now people all of a sudden want to buy more salsa because they're also buying more chips. E stands for expectations. Expectations is what we think is going to happen to the price. So I have an app on my phone that tells me what's happening with gas prices. And every once in a while, it'll send me an alert. It'll say, hey, just so you know, gas is predicted to go up tomorrow. Well, if I get a notification that gas is going to go up in price tomorrow, what do you think is going to happen right now? Yeah, I'm going to go fill up on gas. Now, here's what we notice. The price of gas has not yet changed, but what we think is going to happen has changed. We expect the price to go up later on, so it's going to change how we respond right now. The price of gas is not yet changing. What we think is going to happen is changing. Therefore, we're going to go buy more gas right now while it's still cheaper. P stands for preferences. This could be a whole number of things. It could have to do with like advertising, right? Advertising attempts to change our preferences. When I turn on the TV and I see a commercial and it's for some restaurant, I'm just like, man, that looks good. That food looks great. That's going to increase my demand for it. Or maybe we see on social media, we see some influencer promoting some clothing brand. Well, the price of that clothes doesn't have to change for us to buy it, but it's just our preferences have changed because what we see is that like now it's been brought to our attention and we want to buy more of it and everyone else wants to buy more of it. Demand is increasing despite the price not having to change. This could also have to do with like seasonal things. We know typically the demand for swimsuits goes up as it gets closer to the summertime. because in the summertime, people need swimsuits, so people are going to buy more of them. Nobody's buying a full price swimsuit going into the winter. That's why they have to put those on sale, because nobody wants to buy them. And so in order to get rid of them, they have to sell them for a lot cheaper. And then finally, we see the last one is an increase in the price of a substitute. So back to our chips and salsa example. What's an example of a substitute for salsa? Well, maybe it's queso, right? So say queso goes up in price. So queso gets more expensive. Well, queso and salsa, because they're substitutes, we see that as queso goes up in price, people will be like, you know what? I don't want to buy queso anymore. It's getting too expensive, but I got to have something to dip my chips in still. So I'm going to buy salsa instead. And so the price of salsa didn't change, but now people want to buy more of it just because queso has gone up in price. So what then causes a decrease in the demand, or causes us to buy less at every single price? We're going to use the exact same acronym. We're just going to actually flip those things around. So a decrease in the number of buyers. Again, say overnight, say 50,000 people moved out of Carmel. Well, then of course, less of everything is going to be demanded. There's not going to be as many people buying things, and therefore less is going to be demanded at every single price for every single item. We'd also see a change in consumers' income, but remember, it's different with these normal and inferior goods. We notice that a normal good, as our income decreases, we're going to buy less of the good. So if my income goes down, I'm probably going to buy less fancy steak dinners, right? However, an inferior good, we say, as our income increases, we buy less of the good. So as I start making more money, I don't have to buy Spam anymore. I can buy steak. And so as I start making more money, I'm going to buy less Spam, because it's that kind of like that cheaper version of steak, right? Like I'm going to buy less of that. It's an inferior good because my income rose. C again is the price of a compliment, but this is if the price of that compliment goes up. Think about hot dogs and hot dog buns, right? Let's think about the demand for hot dog buns. If the price of hot dogs goes up, people aren't going to be buying as many hot dogs, and therefore they'd have no reason to buy hot dog buns. Hot dog buns do not have to change in price, but because hot dogs went up in price, hot dog buns are going to be in a lot less demand. Everybody's going to want to buy fewer hot dog buns. A change in consumers' expectations. And again, this is what we expect to happen to the price in the future. Does anybody go out on the Monday before Thanksgiving and buy a brand new TV? Well, no, that'd be ridiculous, because we know that on Friday, Black Friday, that TV is going to be a ton cheaper. And therefore, right now, we would say my demand for a TV is going to decrease because I expect that TV to be a lot cheaper in the future, right? P stands for preferences, a change in consumers' preferences. This could be maybe when things go out of style, right? When things go out of style, people are demanding less of it. It's not that that product maybe got more expensive. It's just that it's not cool anymore, and so nobody wants to buy it anymore. The demand has decreased. This could be also, like we said, that seasonal kind of thing. As we are heading into summer, we see the demand for winter coats is decreasing. People aren't buying winter coats at full price, at that normal price anymore. And so because of that, we would see the demand for winter coats is decreasing. And finally, a decrease in the price of a substitute. A really good example of substitutes is Coke and Pepsi, right? So pretend we have a Coke machine and a Pepsi machine side by side at school, and say they're the same price, say they're both $1. But what if Pepsi goes down in price? Well, if Pepsi decreases in price, what's that going to do to the demand for Coke? Well, now that Pepsi's cheaper, everybody's going to start buying Pepsi instead, and nobody's going to buy Coke anymore. Coke hasn't changed their price. Coke's price is still $1. But because there was a decrease in the price of Pepsi, a substitute, more people are going to buy Pepsi, which leads to fewer people buying Coke. So you might have picked up on our acronym already, and this is an acronym that you do need to know. It's BICEPS, right? Easy one to remember. And that stands for buyers, income, complements, expectations, preferences, and substitutes.